What's the moment in your life that caused you to wake up?
Well, now this wasn't, there was a lead up to the moment. My husband was mentally unwell for 15 of the 20 years we were married. And I could see him going downhill. What prompted this? He'd been asked to put in a payroll system and work, and they hadn't given him any extra time. So he was basically working a 90-hour week. I was going in to help him for a couple of hours before I did my work, and again a couple of hours afterwards, which of course wasn't paid, wasn't acknowledged, and it sucked the life out of him. He took a mental breakdown. And the GP, when he signed him off, said, "I've never seen anybody so stressed in my life. I don't think you're ever going to work again." I was not happy about that curse, because you and I both know that your words have power. And any time I saw some progress and I would give him some positive strokes on that, he would sabotage. So that was really difficult. And as time went on, he was spiraling ever further down. And I could feel the life getting sucked out of me. But then it was a codependent relationship, because 10 years into our marriage, I finally summoned up the courage to say, "Are we going to have kids?" Because we bought our house and we were choosing furnishings, and he chose a cream carpet for the spare room. And I'm going, not exactly practical for a nursery. And he looked at me and said, "There was never any intention to have children." Okay. Knife to the heart, I admit. But it took me 10 years to even ask that. The following 10 years were even harder in terms of our intimacy, because he didn't trust me. By the time, but you see, that then meant that my maternal instincts were directed to him. And it wasn't until another 8 years later when somebody pointed out, "Wendy, this is a codependent relationship." I sat back and thought, oh yeah, actually it is, isn't it? So I started to pull away and wasn't giving him as much of the maternal thing. And he was spiraling down even faster. Then we had our 20th wedding anniversary. My parents went home back to England because we were living in Scotland. And I went off to work. And we were having a team building day. And we were being asked to bring a CD cover, as this shows how old it was. A CD cover of our favourite album. And the idea was that all the team members would go through and try and work out who it was from the album cover. And so that was the last conversation I had with him on my way to work, because we had a Bluetooth connection thing. Little did I know that on my way home, I had this uneasy feeling, because he wasn't answering the phone, because we used to do a debrief on the phone on the way home. And when I got home, I found him. He'd been dead a couple of hours, so he was yellow down to here and purple and mottled where the blood had drained. And I looked at him and I said out loud, "This really is the first day of the rest of my life."
Get ready to reclaim your life, discover inspiring stories, practical tools, and the path to true happiness. This is Reclaim Your Life with Irina. Let's begin the journey. Before we start the next conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, The Gift Inside, a powerful guide for healing your body, mind, and soul. Reclaim your strengths and awaken your true potential. Whether you are navigating heartbreak or simply seeking deeper fulfillment, this book offers the tools to turn your struggles into triumphs. It is time to unlock the gift within you. Available now on Amazon, or you can check it out on my website www.irinashehovtsov.com. Hello and welcome to Reclaim Your Life with Irina. We have a special guest, Wendy Corner. I have met Wendy back in 2020. She's an amazing human, first of all. She is a speaker, coach, a podcaster, and book author, best-selling book author, and she helps visionaries, entrepreneurs just like you to become author speakers and create a strategy and plan to get your message more out there across multiple mediums, refine that message and improve your craft in ways that help you stories and message to change hearts and minds across multiple mediums. Welcome, Wendy. It is a pleasure to have you.
It's a very big honor to be here with you. we've had a couple of sessions on podcasts and things over the years, and I know COVID was a real pain for an awful lot of people.
Yes.
Pain, euphemistically. However, it introduced us.
Yes.
So thank you, COVID.
Please share with us, who is Wendy in your own words?
Oh, yeah, that's a biggie, isn't it? Who is Wendy? And it's a question I ask myself a few times a day, actually. You know, those labels, the identity things that we wear, those have changed over the years. And in this last year, I've come to appreciate that home is where I am. But there's a long lead into that one. So, okay, let me give you some background. You'll gather from the accent, a Brit by birth. Lived in the UK, in England and Scotland, because I actually migrated from Scotland to Perth in Australia, and around about now, actually, in 2013. And nobody could understand what I was saying, so I had to shift back to my English vowels. So that was the long haul. Then in the last 11 years, my training was as a speech pathologist. So I worked with adults with intellectual disability, with or without autism, for almost 30 years. And so, that I managed to impact probably about 5,000 individuals in that time, along with their ecosystems around them. So whether that be carers, work colleagues, managers, whatever, that was all part and parcel of what I was doing. Then I was released from my corporate work and ended up being a coach. Was headhunted by TEDx University Western Australia as one of their coaches and became their head coach. Not there this year because I'm not in Perth. Beginning of this year, took out a bit of an adventure, left Perth, and I'm in the process of writing a book, My Life with 20 Kilos. Those of you in America, that's 44 pounds. Please note it has nothing to do with cocaine. Because I know the Americans tend to think of kilos in relation to cocaine, but generally think of pounds. Well, 44 pounds if you like, okay? So have that one in mind. And off I went. In the time I left Perth, which was on the red eye on the 29th of February, I've been in Malaysia, Vietnam, back to Melbourne, Australia, UK, back to Melbourne, Mexico, which is where I am now, had a quick trip to Costa Rica. So that's 6 different places in the last, 10 months. And this is somebody who, up until the end of January, was very firmly planted and would not have considered being an itinerant person. So there you go. That's yes, in a very small nutshell.
Wow, that's incredible. So what happened that kind of caused you to start to travel this year?
This year? Oh, well, okay. Last year, having some cash flow issues. And I'm explaining this to one of the girls I used to work with when I was employed in Perth, who, Malaysian Chinese lady, she'd come back for a visit and we got chatting. And she said, Wendy, what's keeping you in Perth? I mean, no mortgage, no ties, no family. Why don't you come and live in Malaysia for a bit? It's cheaper living. You can still do your work with your international clients and cheaper living. Oh, come on, I migrated to the other side of the world 10 years ago. I'm not moving again. Going back to those internal scripts, as I call them. Fast forward a few weeks, and somebody that we both know, Payman Lorenzo and I are having a chat, and he's saying, Wendy, what's keeping you in Perth? I'm going, hang on. This is two people who never in a month of Sundays would ever meet each other. And they're both suggesting Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. There's got to be something in this. So at the start of the year, I did a 72-hour water fast. Total reset physically, journal out. Let's, okay, God, what are you playing at? What's going on? Nothing on day one, nothing on day two, day three. Yep, off you go. Just like that. Yep. What am I doing with all my stuff? Do you need it? No, probably not. You've set up home before, you can do it again. But right now you keep your very precious items with particular friends and off you go. You got 6 weeks. Something as crazy as that has to be a God idea in my book. So that's what I did. And I upsticks the furniture was left with I was living in an upstairs granny flat, if you will, with a couple who were about to move and set up an Airbnb. So all the furniture they were very grateful for, because that meant that they didn't have to buy it to set up this Airbnb. Mm-hmm. So the big stuff was already sorted. I sold all of my kitchen stuff. And Irina, you'll remember that I had quite a brewery going with my kombucha. Audience, I used to make kombucha and some of it was explosive and hit the ceiling. The mulberry one in particular, which then left purple stains on the ceiling, which needed to be repainted. So all of that had to get left behind. But that was the point. I'd gone from being a hoarder, being born into a family of hoarders and marrying into a family of hoarders. And I had 20 kilos. I had to be very clear as to what was important for me in my 20 kilos. And what I could, the treasured items I could leave behind with specific people on the understanding that they would use them. So the energy would keep going. I didn't want things sitting in a cupboard and just gathering dust. What's the point? So things like my flute, I left with a friend whose daughter is learning to play the flute. So she got to use a pretty decent flute. So that's great. But that's what happened. So the 6 weeks to go from, if you like, hoarder to handbag, and off I went.
The power to let go, I think, is so important. Yeah. Sometimes we hold on to things, like you said, we're hoarding onto things we don't even need. Maybe some sentimental value, or somebody passed it on to you, but you don't really need it. And then we delay our living because we have these possessions that we gotta hold on to.
Yeah,
exactly. And we deprive ourselves of experiences we could have. Yeah. Like you now on this journey, amazing journey of a whole year, probably learn some incredible lessons in your journey as well, all just this year alone.
One of my friends said to me, it looks like you're compressing all your life lessons into 1 year. And I go, yeah, it kind of feels like that too.
Awesome. What are you passionate about?
Oh, I am passionate about helping people get their message out. Because I think too many of us are on, okay, we're on Zoom at the moment. Too many of us are on mute. You know, that where they start talking and the microphone's not on. I think too many of us are in that position in life. We're on mute because those internal scripts, as I call them, the things you say to yourself, your stories you tell yourself that, well, who's going to listen? Oh, it's common sense. Nobody's going to listen to me. Everybody knows this. And all of those little internal scripts. Some people call them limiting beliefs. But I don't, because sometimes, depending on the context, they're actually very resourceful. So as I put it, you've got to know when to hold and know when to fold.
Thank you. Thank you. What makes your heart sing?
Seeing other people succeed. When you've seen that author or that speaker who's gone from paralysis to standing up on stage and spouting forth in a way that connects with the audience. They're not talking at the audience, they're connecting with the audience. They're really having that heart to heart, heart and mind connection, and they can see their audience being impacted from what they're saying. I can't tell you what a buzz that gives me.
Yes. What makes you happy?
Ooh, that's an interesting one, because happiness for me is contextual. Joy is not. Joy is a choice. Happiness is contextual in my world, my map of the world. I mean, you and I are both NLP master practitioners, so we understand that. The map of the world. Audience, if you're not familiar with that concept, it's how you see the world. So this is, my happiness is, I don't really know, actually. I love looking at nature. I love being in nature. And you can find nature even in a town, in a city. Because one of the things that has been a common thread, a common feature of all the places I've been, has been a dragonfly. Whether I've been in concrete jungle in Kuala Lumpur and you think, where's the water? But they're dotting about. The UK, when I was speaking at Cambridge University, they were out there. They had a pond by the front entrance, admittedly, but they were there. They were there in Vietnam. They've been around here in Mexico. And I'm just going, oh, I think there's a message in here. So I look for all the potential prompts wherever I am, and that makes me happy.
I love it. That's so beautiful. Like dragonflies are following you around.
Yeah. And they're different coloured ones too.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were different colours, because the ones I've seen in the UK have all been that iridescent blue.
Mhm.
But I've had yellow ones, red one, only one red one, yellow, orange, purple, and brown, as well as the blue one that I saw in the blue ones that I was seeing in Cambridge again. So yeah, fascinating.
What was the moment in your life that caused you to wake up when you realized however you were living wasn't working and you decided to make a change?
Oh, well, now this wasn't, there was a lead up to the moment. My husband was mentally unwell for 15 of the 20 years we were married. And I could see him going downhill. What prompted this? He'd been asked to put in a payroll system and work, and they hadn't given him any extra time. So he was basically working a 90-hour week. I was going in to help him for a couple of hours before I did my work, and again a couple of hours afterwards, which of course wasn't paid, wasn't acknowledged, and it sucked the life out of him. He took a mental breakdown, and the GP, when he signed him off, said, "I've never seen anybody so stressed in my life. I don't think you're ever going to work again." I was not happy about that curse, because you and I both know that your words have power. And any time I saw some progress and I would give him some positive strokes on that, he would sabotage. So that was really difficult. And as time went on, he was spiraling ever further down. And I could feel the life getting sucked out of me. But then it was a codependent relationship, because 10 years into our marriage, I finally summoned up the courage to say, are we going to have kids? Because we bought our house and we were choosing furnishings, and he chose a cream carpet for the spare room. And I'm going, not exactly practical for a nursery. And he looked at me and said, there was never any intention to have children. Okay. Knife to the heart, I admit. But it took me 10 years to even ask that. The following 10 years were even harder in terms of our intimacy because he didn't trust me. By the time, but you see, that then meant that my maternal instincts were directed to him. And it wasn't until another 8 years later when somebody pointed out, Wendy, this is a codependent relationship. I sat back and thought, oh yeah, actually it is, isn't it? So I started to pull away and wasn't giving him as much of the maternal thing. And he was spiraling down even faster. Then we had our 20th wedding anniversary. My parents went home back to England because we were living in Scotland. And I went off to work. And we were having a team building day. And we were being asked to bring a CD cover. Yes, this shows how old it was. A CD cover of our favourite album. And the idea was that all the team members would go through and try and work out who he was from the album cover. And so that was the last conversation I had with him on my way to work, because we had a Bluetooth connection thing. Little did I know that on my way home, I had this uneasy feeling because he wasn't answering the phone, because we used to do a debrief on the phone on the way home. Mm-hmm. And when I got home, I found him. He'd been dead a couple of hours, so he was yellow down to here and purple and mottled where the blood had drained. Mm. And I looked at him and I said out loud, this really is the first day of the rest of my life. Mm. Excuse me? Where did that come from? But at that point, there was the shock, but there was also relief, because no longer was the life going to get sucked out of me. But then there was the guilt. How could I feel relief at my husband dying? I could not share that side of my reactions to anyone. In Britain, we don't air our dirty linen in public. Dignity at all times. Don't speak ill of the dead. All of these internal scripts. Grief can be a very lonely experience anyway. But when you don't feel that you can share the full experience, even with trusted friends, it's a very lonely road to walk. But it was my release. In one fell swoop, I lost the title, the label of wife and carer. Jeff had hated the idea that I was his carer, but he clearly couldn't function without me. Where did that leave me? A couple of years later, I went on a trip to Australia to fulfill something we'd always talked about, because he wanted to go and see his cousin. But Jeff was a very big man, and to shoehorn himself into a airline seat for 24 hours, which in fact it is when you go from the UK to Australia, just didn't happen. So I went out. Jeff died in 2009. I went out in 2012. And I thought, oh, I quite like this. I could live here. Appreciating that working and having a holiday are two different things. But when I got back to the UK, every which way I turned, Australia was calling. Mm. So that's when I headed over at the end of that year. Well, actually, no, I put my resignation in as a speech pathologist at the end of 2012. but I didn't get the job until the September the following year. But in that time, I had to clear the house. Our stuff, my mother-in-law's stuff, my father-in-law's stuff, so that was the one house, and my brother-in-law's stuff, because all four of them had died within the space of 10 years, and they were all hoarders, and it all came back to me.
Oh,
So that was probably the turning point, because that was such a big shift.
yeah. Yeah, I got a life of caring and taking care of your husband, and then having that suddenly happen. And you're so right. We often cannot share the grief because we don't want to share the dirty laundry, but it still lives in our heart. It still lives in our body, and we have to find some kind of release for that. We have to let this go because it's not our fault. Maybe it was time for that person to go. They completed. Maybe his job on earth was for you to have your breakthrough, for you to realize that the power of letting go and enable you on your quest and your journey and doing amazing things that you do today. And the moment it probably was very painful and sad and you were heartbroken, but on the other hand, you were also able to feel that release and finally maybe having a second chance on life, taking a breath of fresh air and, doing finally things that you always wanted maybe and weren't brave enough to admit them to yourself until you had kind of this clearing. Here you go. You're ready. It is time. So I love it.
Thank you.
What were the 3 biggest lessons you learned as a result of this wake-up call?
As you pointed out, I think that was the start of the broadening the horizons, because if Jeff was still alive, I'd still be a speech pathologist in Scotland. I wouldn't have done all the travel I've done. I wouldn't have learnt fresh skills, because since he actually, no, while he was still alive, I was doing some massage training, because the dear NHS, National Health Service, it's still lumbering on, but in palliative care. The NHS decided to do a regrading, and potentially I could lose my job. And I had left school and gone straight to university to do speech therapy. So I thought, well, what else could I do? What else do I really enjoy? So touch is another of my love languages, words and touch, go figure. So I then trained in Swedish, remedial massage, and after Jeff died, I went into myofascial release. And so that's taken me to America to do some training. Actually now, America, just forget where I am. And then I've been using that as well as an additional service that I work with people, and particularly when I'm working with speakers, I can incorporate that stuff with the actual speakers, whether it be hands-on if they're in Perth with me, as I was, or remotely through the energetic side of it. So it's opened up horizons. I've learned that I don't have to be planted in one place. I don't have to have lots of stuff. I can live minimally, and the stuff that I do have, I have a loose hold on. It's not gripped tightly. And that gripped tightly thing has been the theme of this year, of letting go of those internal scripts that have been going, hold you back, hold you back, hold you back. But as I mentioned earlier, 1 or 2 of them have been contextually appropriate. And it's knowing when to hold and when to fold.
So right. So right. And those are some of the important lessons. Being planted where you were, and then opening your horizons and letting go, finding what else what is actually important in life. If we take this 10,000 kind of bird eye view of the things we are focusing on, let's say quarrels or possessions And does it really matter in the end of the day?
Yeah.
Like when we are on a deathbed, I think the most important thing is not to have regrets about our life and do the things that we are passionate about and not do life how other people see us or what they expect of us, but drafting our own path, drafting our own way of discovering and why we are here. Because sometimes people might not get what you are doing. They would think you are crazy. They didn't get that dream. They didn't get that calling, or they have their own and you have your own. And I think it's so important to listen to that inner voice, to let go of the possessions or things that aren't really important in the grand scheme of things, and discover your own unique path.
Yes.
So now that you have had your wake-up call and you had your beautiful lessons, what is your mission now?
As I mentioned earlier on, seeing people blossom from stage, and prior to that, working on those internal scripts, because we all have them. Part of it is being conscious of the ones that we run, those stories we run. I kind of liken it to the software running our lives.
Yeah.
And that software could do with an upgrade from time to time.
Totally. Like on the phone, we have upgrades every,
Exactly.
I don't know, two times a month at least.
Yeah. But it requires, I mean, those in Microsoft head office or in Apple head office have taken a step back and gone, how can I make this better? And that's required of each one of us to take that step back and go, why do I keep doing that? What's the story I'm telling myself? You can probably trace it back to a specific event where you made up that story to survive. And it worked when I was 2. Yay. But I'm now a fair few years older than that. And to have that 2-year-old driving my bus, no. It's all right, dear. You can, I'll give you a cuddle and then you can be happy. It's now the 59-year-old who's running the show. Okay. So yes, it's that taking the step back. And if you can do it on your own, go do it. However, it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle. And so having somebody outside the bottle, that's how I discovered my 2-year-old was running the show, because I had an abandonment experience when I was 2. I decided my voice doesn't matter. Everybody else's does, mine doesn't. I wasn't aware of that little script. But hello, I became a speech pathologist. Everybody else's voice mattered. I didn't want them to go through the same situation that I had, of feeling I didn't matter. So that was something that colored life without even being aware of it, until some very skillful questioning by a coach went, oh, yeah. And she said, and the thing is, you're still running that script because you are helping everybody else to get on stage. What about you? Where's your voice in all of this? Okay, so more laser focus, and then flipping that script to now everybody's voice matters, including mine, has made a major difference in my life, in my work, because people can actually see what I'm doing. I'm not just doing the talky bit, I'm walking it too, which is why I'm talking to you now.
Yay. All right. Thank you. Did you have a hero growing up or somebody you looked up to?
I mean, there was nobody overt. I mean, I didn't have posters on the wall or anything like that. But I think probably it was my mother. She was somebody who taught me respect for everyone. Going back to my specialism with people with intellectual disability, with or without autism. When I was 4, I remember having a picnic with Mum and this lady were great friends, and her daughter, she had a 4-year-old Down's daughter. And we were having a picnic together. And afterwards I said to Mummy, she's different. And Mum said, she might look different, but she likes to play just like you do. Oh. And that was enough for me to then think, fine. And she also modelled respect for everyone, regardless of who they were. And so that was a very big plus. She also drummed into me, vote. You have to vote. In the UK, it's not mandatory. It is in Australia. But in the UK, like the US, it's not mandatory. And she said, women died to get you the vote. You have to use your vote. Don't let them die in vain, type thing. And then I discovered a few generations ago, we had a suffragette in the family. Now, audience, if you don't know what suffragettes are, in the UK at sort of turn of the 1900s into about 1910, around there, women were very keen to get the vote because they hadn't got the vote at this point. If you remember, if you've seen the film Mary Poppins, yep, the wife of the family that Mary was staying with, she had her placard, vote for women. That was the suffragette movement. Now, they really put themselves out. They chained themselves to railings. They'd even put themselves in front of police horses, and some of them did get run over by the police horses. They were imprisoned, and some of them did die. I'm fairly certain that my ancestor didn't, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But my point is that it was that sort of role model that I had growing up. And because Mum was actually quite remote emotionally, I think I was constantly trying to get her attention and please her. So that probably would have been my unspoken idol.
Thank you. Thank you. What was the smallest thing you've done that had the biggest impact in your life so far?
Ooh. I think saying yes to my trip. As I said, when God has an idea and he goes, really? Okay. And then it does have a very big impact on the rest of life, I find, because I wouldn't be able to do this without his strength.
Yeah. How was it so far, your trip?
Oh, it's been brilliant. I mean, there have been some interesting challenges along the way. I mentioned the fold and the hold and the fold. That little 2-year-old had a very good thing of, me do it. I'm okay. Okay. Now, when you're in a country where you don't know the health system, this is Malaysia, I'll give you some context. I left Perth, don't worry about the kilos, pounds conversion, but just think about the numbers. I left Perth at 54.5 kilos. I had a little bit of an issue with chronic diarrhea, but I didn't know how to ask for help in that health system. When it got to 8 times a day, and the fact that I had lost a lot of weight, I had to go find some help, and I went and found a GP. First thing she did, she would put me on the scales. Now, in just under 3 months, I had gone from 54.5 to 48.7. That's pretty much 6 kilos, 1/3 of the weight of my baggage allowance. So you can transfigure that. So just picture that. Now, that was when the I can do it didn't actually help me. Having gone to see the GP, and we got past the first issue, but then it came back again. I then had to go back and get some bloods done for a repeat thyroxine script. She phoned me and said, or the clinic phoned me and said, I need to see you at 3 o'clock this afternoon, urgently. Don't miss the appointment. Okay, so in I went, and she said, I think the results are wrong, but how's your breathing? Fine. Any heart palpitations? No. She wanted to give me an ECG, and she was really quite stressed. Wrote out this referral letter, gave it to me and said, go to emergency now. This was 4:30. Don't be there after 6 p.m. Get there now. So I had to go back home and pick up all my paperwork. Armed with this referral, concerned about my heart, of course I got triaged very quickly. The nurse saw me. How are you doing? How's your breathing? Any heart palpitations? No, fine. Do all the blood pressure in the ear and whatever. Went and sat down. 20 minutes from arrival to being seen, because apparently I got a heart problem. The doctor sees me and goes, how are you feeling? Any heart palpitations? Any breathing issues? I said, fine, but I'm starting to get a bit worried. He said, your blood test results are incompatible with life. Pardon? He said, the fact that you've walked in here with a smile on your face, I think they might be wrong. Shall we do them again? Yes, please. A real contrast in his laid-back approach and the GP who was going, ooh. When I'm having this ECG, I'm trying to be really calm because, hello, she's about to take my heart trace. And she's up to here and I think, not helping. Anyway, blood test results came back. Not critical. Still not brilliant, but not critical. In that intervening hour, when I was waiting on the results, the me do it, I can handle this, was actually helping. Because I could sit and go, yeah, I can handle this. We're all right. And it felt that calm in the eye of the hurricane that was wheeling around me. So that's what I'm saying. Context specific, know when to hold, know when to fold.
Oh. You're so right that, yeah, we have to choose which way works in a certain situation. So yeah. Powerful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. How are you feeling now?
Oh, I'm fine. No heart problems, no breathing problems. I'm absolutely fine. I admit I haven't had a blood retest since, but yeah, when I get back to Malaysia in January, I probably will go for a repeat and see whether we can't get a good result. But that's it. I feel fine. There was no issue. Just I'm wondering whose results I got.
Yeah.
And whether they really would have been needing to be seen quickly. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, I've had some interesting experiences. Let's just say that.
What is your superpower, if you had to pick one?
Oh, probably my ability to achieve rapport with people. You remember I mentioned in my speech therapy career, I've probably seen about 5,000 individuals. In that 30 years, I would say there was only one person that I didn't achieve rapport with. And that included, I mean, the people I did achieve rapport with included people who had challenging behaviours and would apparently spit at you, kick you, pommel you, and yeah, no probs. I even went into a jail to work with a sex offender because this guy had, judging from the way his language was, he'd been beaten around the head when he was a kid because there was an acquired brain injury element to the way his language was, as well as having an intellectual disability. And he had no idea why what he did was wrong. So doing some, I mean, I went in for a language assessment so that we could produce that to the probationary group. But he was talking about going back to the bars that he used to frequent. before he was arrested. I'm going, no, you go back there, sunshine, you will be literally killed. My point is that it doesn't matter who the person is. And I think this has come from my mum's modelling of respect, that I can achieve rapport with pretty much anyone. Just Rita that didn't.
Awesome. I think it's one of the important skills to have in life, to creating rapport, because it's all about relationships and communication and being able to connect with others. So that's amazing to have that superpower. And you totally do have that. I feel it every time we speak.
Yes.
You do have it. What do you want to create next? Any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
Oh, I'm writing the book, My Life with 20 Kilos.
Yeah.
And it's looking at the physical stuff, which we've already mentioned. It's looking at the emotional, mental stuff. And it's that baggage that weighs you down. Forget the 20 kilos you've got on your weight limit and your physical bag. And I'm also looking at it from a spiritual perspective. You know, you were saying about taking that step back and looking at things. You've already gathered from what I've said that I'm an active Christian. Well, you wouldn't necessarily know I was a Christian, but I am. Now, I grew up in the UK. The monarch's titles include Defender of the Faith. It's still a Christian country. I went to Australia, still nominally a Christian country. Then I land in Malaysia. Mosques, temples. Where's a church? I'm now looking at things from consciously, what are the spiritual practices I want to maintain? What can I let go so that I'm maintaining my relationships up and out? And that's been a good one too, because there were a couple of the things that I let go of, but the main one I doubled down on was the prayer when it came to losing all that weight and being told that incompatible with life. I don't think I'm finished yet, God. No, you're not. So that's the premise of the book, and it will be in those 3 sections. I'm also being led, and it's not going to be a massive tome. So I'm going to be selective with the stories that I mention in that book. Audience, Irina's been on my podcast, and we had a podcast interview with a gentleman a couple of weeks ago. And his benchmark is to write a book that can be read on an internal flight. So it can be read with under 3 hours, so that you pick it up at the airport and you hand it on to somebody else when you get there. And I love that as a good rule of thumb, because it means, we're living in an age of too long didn't read. Make it short and snappy. So what I think I'm going to do is also, I'm being led to do a companion volume, Fear or Faith. And we'll give examples of those stories that I've amassed in the last year and also prior to that, when I'm looking at the decisions as to whether it was fueled by fear. Oh boy, have I got a good tank full of that. Or whether I've actually been able to go, not now, and move forward in faith. So though I think there probably may well be 2 books coming out next year.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you. And I think that's incredible subject to share, how to live with less and discover what is truly important versus what is just superficial that you don't even need, and distracting you from pursuing your real life goals. So amazing. Thank you. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
I think so. Nothing's jumping at me.
Awesome. If people would like to connect and learn more about you, where would they go?
Probably the best way of getting hold of me is through my Facebook page. So I have a personal page, Wendy Corner. I have a YouTube channel, Wendy Corner, where you will find episode of the podcast with Irina. So do go check it out. If you are in the business of getting your message out to a wider world, that's also a very good place to start, because I've got a lot of help videos as well. I do a weekly live around ways to improve your speaking skills on that as well. I have a LinkedIn presence. I also have Facebook pages. The Facebook is ComCoach. The Insta is wendy.in.your.corner. With a name like that, Wendy Corner, you're going to use it, aren't you? So Wendy's in your corner. So yes, you've gathered I'm also on Insta, and Your Words Have Power is another section, both in Facebook and in Insta.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll include everything in episode notes. It's been a pleasure to have you. I was learned something new about you, and thank you for sharing your gifts with the world and for your work that you're doing of letting people spread their message and shine on stage.
Thank you, Irina. It's been a real honor to spend this time with you. I absolutely love what you're doing, and your story is phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you.